Welcome to Women in the Arena podcast, the podcast celebrating women doing extraordinary things in plain sight. I'm your host, Audra Egan, and our mission is to elevate the value, strength, and resilience each woman brings to the world. Without further delay, let's go ahead and start the show. Welcome in, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me again this week. This week, I have such a treat for you. This week, I have such a beautiful woman with me, and she is beautiful inside and out. My guest this week is Keisha Hickson, and she and I met by happenstance, but we met for a reason. Keisha has 25 years experience in the financial industry and had a moment of reflection when her life changed. And she made a decision that she was not going to waste a moment of her life and decided to dedicate her life and her passion to creating spaces and opportunities for women to chase their passion. It is my pleasure and my honor to introduce to you Keisha. Keisha, thank you so much for being here and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here with you today. Thank you for that beautiful introduction.
I'm so happy for you to be here. As I said in the beginning, you and I met by happenstance. I got an email from your admin assistant, and for some reason, I was like, I must meet this woman. And as it turned out, you and I have very similar backgrounds. Both professionally and personally.
Yes.
We have very similar careers. We have very similar industries. We actually work in the same industry.
We do.
Never met, and we have very similar personal backgrounds. And it was just we decided it was meant to be, and we needed to speak. And I don't want to steal anybody's thunder. I certainly don't want to steal yours. So, Keisha, tell the audience a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about your career, and what was that moment that you changed everything and decided life is too short to chase or not chase your passion?
So I'll begin here. In 1997, I took a part-time job as a bank teller, which was supposed to be a brief detour on my way to law school. In between my undergrad degree and studying for the LSATs. This brief detour somehow turned into 26 years in banking, and that's the industry that you and I both share. It was very rewarding. It was empowering. It gave me a life of leisure. You know, I was like living the American dream, but I kind of put my law school ambitions to side because, I was making money at the time. I found myself in a sales role. Eventually, I became a vice president of retail banking, but in between that, I was a killer salesperson. Life went on. I got married. I had a child. I just stayed at the bank for 26 years in retail banking and kind of like put my dreams of law school to the side. Fast forward in 2016, I injured myself at home one weekend, just doing some housework. I injured myself and my elbow, I had a pain. I was like, oh, this is weird. Like, why my elbow's hurting? So I went to the doctor and they took an x-ray, and the panic on this doctor's face was incredible. I was like, calm down. She was like, oh my God, you have to go see an orthopedic doctor. I was like, okay. She says, I found one for you. The next day was Martin Luther King's day. So the banks were closed and most people are off. She was like, I found one for you tomorrow and you have to go. I said, okay. So I called to confirm the appointment and I went. The doctor said, Keisha, it could be two things. I'm going to send you for MRI and we'll follow up. Okay, no big deal. Going about my day, he gave me a sling. I had to probably have surgery to repair the elbow, whatever. 2 days later, he calls me at work. He says, Keisha, I don't know you, but I know you're a straight shooter. He said, you have a multiple myeloma. I was like, okay, what is that? not even thinking it was going to be that devastating of a diagnosis. Multiple myeloma. I turned to my office computer. I look it up. It says rare incurable cancer of the plasma cells. Life expectancy 3 to 5 years. I was like, what? This can't be it. No, hey. I was like, this really can't be it. What are you saying? He goes, I'm sorry. You have multiple myeloma. He tells me a bunch of stuff that all of a sudden I feel like I'm underwater. I can't hear properly. I'm like, I said, okay, just tell me where to go and I'll make the appointment. So I hung up the phone and I remember like the room just started spinning. I was like, I'm 38 and I'm not going to live to see my 44th birthday. And my daughter is 8 years old. I was like, oh, absolutely, this could not be it. So that was the critical moment for me in my life where I felt like time was running out. I was in the ultimate fight for my life. And I had to make a change. Like I had to do all the things that I've been putting off, whether it was starting a business, learning how to crochet, whatever it is, I'm doing it right now. Like there's no more time to say one day or next day or next week. So that was my pivotal moment that started me on this journey of realizing how complacent and comfortable we become until something critical happens and time becomes of the essence and you feel like, what did I really do? So that was my moment in January 2016 when I realized that I have to make a shift.
This is the moment that took your breath away, where you thought, if I only have 5 years, I better make those 5 years count.
Right. If I only have 5 years, I better make those 5 years count. And in 5 years, my daughter only would have been 13. So if it's not for her, I had to fight a little bit harder. I couldn't give up. I was interviewed in a magazine when I started my first business in 2018. And in the magazine, I said I couldn't fold. There was no time to fold. I had to play the hand out. Because I didn't know what was going to happen, how I was going to respond to treatment. And then, I became a doctor overnight. I am a multiple myeloma doctor specialist. If you didn't know, I could add that to my resume. You read all these cases about, patients becoming refractory to the medication, all these complications. And you're like, oh my God, this can't happen to me. Like, I'm perfectly fine right now because I didn't have any symptoms leading up to this. It was just, I was going along with my life. Like everything was just fine. I was living the status quo. Everything was good. So that was my pivotal moment where things changed for me and my outlook on life and how I want to use my voice and my professional experience and my personal experience to let women know you can have it all. What is stopping you? You can.
Before we continue with what Keisha is doing, I told you that our lives, unbeknownst to ourselves, where they have been running parallel and intersecting where we did not realize until we met 2 weeks ago. My mother also has multiple myeloma, but she was diagnosed a couple of years before Keisha.
Mm-hmm.
And she had a experimental treatment that she is still living with multiple myeloma today, but she had an experimental treatment that actually led to the treatment that is much less overwhelming that Keisha has today. So it's very interesting how the dominoes fall.
Yeah.
That a woman in her 60s had the very first treatment that improved over a couple of years that led to a woman in her 30s in New York that got to have it a couple of years later with much less effects. Right. And much more improvement. So I make that comment because you never know who you might meet. And if you think that one life can't change the world or can't change yours, you're wrong.
Correct. 100%.
So I say that right now because Keisha is on a crusade to change yours.
100%. One's personal story can definitely give you a different perspective on life and help you see things a little bit easier than you once thought. As rare as multiple myeloma is, or they say it is, the amount of people I have met in the past 8 years who have been impacted, or they know someone or someone in their family got diagnosed after they heard my story that reached out to me on through social media. There's power in sharing your story. There is power in being kind to someone, sharing your story just to say, you know what, we all have a path to go down. This is a way to be resilient and to accept that things happen and how to still live your life. There's power in that, right? But 8 years ago when I was diagnosed, any kind of research study I participated in, because if it didn't save me, it will save someone else. Right. And I remember when I was first diagnosed, they were talking about the T-cell therapy, which is similar to the stem cell transplant. That was in clinical trials 8 years ago. Now it is one of the approved treatment plans by the FDA. I'm kind of going off course, I'm sorry, but in the past 8 years, at least 6 to 7 drugs have been approved for multiple myeloma. So the outlook for multiple myeloma patients is still not curable, but is highly treatable. And patients have more drugs to choose from in the marketplace to live that fulfilled life. Because to hear that your cancer is not treatable, it's paralyzing if you let it. Right?
And exactly.
You just bypass, it's treatable, curable. When you hear the word it's not curable, everything else doesn't matter. All you know is it can't be fixed.
Exactly.
It cannot be fixed. But there are treatment options available.
And at the time that my mother was diagnosed, which was before Keisha, the only option was this stem cell transplant. That was the only option.
Correct.
And like I said, that led to further treatments, which more people can now have even better results.
Right.
These earlier therapies. And this is all leading to say that Keisha has made it her life's purpose to have women, where her heart lives is for women to live their passion. Because she has this phrase that when I read about her, it leapt off the page to me and I wrote it down. Because I thought, you all need to hear this, because I felt this in my soul. And I want you all to hear this and write it down. Write it on your mirror, write it on your notebook, put it in your phone, whatever it is. You need to hear this and really meditate on this, because it really meant a lot to me. And it is complacency is the anchor that keeps your dream from sailing. Keisha, the imagery of that takes my breath away.
So complacency is the anchor that keeps your dreams from sailing, right? And when I think back from my early days of when I was in college, 20 years old, we all seek this comfort that we're looking for, right? What is that? It is the ability to live your life with stability and contentment with little hiccups, right? Just to be comfortable here. You finished your degree, you got married, you bought a home. I just want to be comfortable. Make enough money that I could just be comfortable. But what it does, it puts you in a sense of once you get comfortable or you feel that you're comfortable, you just sit still and you keep doing the same things. And that makes you complacent. Because now the fear of if I move a little bit to the left, I might be a little bit uncomfortable. I mean, I like it, but I like it right here where I'm comfortable. But nothing grows in comfort. Nothing. You're not growing. Personal experiences, your professional experiences, you're just not growing. You're at a standstill. And then one day you wake up and something happens. It doesn't have to be as critical as a cancer diagnosis. But before my diagnosis, there was other things that happened to me in my life. Like for some women, it could be they're getting separated from their spouse. The job that they thought they were going to retire from, now they got laid off. And you think about, especially as women, all the sacrifices you make for your families, for your jobs. You sacrifice yourself, your self-care, because you're trying to nurture everybody else. Women especially, I feel like they put their dreams on the back burner a lot, right? Our counterparts, they go for it, no matter what. I remember I was in the gym a few months ago. This guy's on the treadmill running and reading his cue cards. Like, he's figuring out whatever project he's on, whatever test he's trying to take, he's working out and doing that at the same time. They do a better job at keep themselves moving, keep being relevant. But sometimes we just sit here, right? We want to raise our kids. We want to be here for every milestone. And that's very important. But what I like to instill in the women that I work with, that you can still work on your passions and your dreams every day, right? It doesn't have to be something as ambitious as I'm going to quit my job and start my own business. No, it could be you just want to learn a second language. You want to learn photography. You want to go to that gym class or exercise 4 days a week. Like, whatever your desire is, you can do it. You just got to factor it into your everyday life. And that's a hard lesson I had to learn, because managing a critical illness, I go to the doctor a lot. I don't look like it, but I go to the doctor a lot. So between my career, managing this critical illness, I have a young child, and I still have a personal life as well. I had to learn how to navigate my own world. Right? If I had a conference to go to or I had to travel, I had to move my doctor's appointment around. Right now, I go to the doctor every other Monday. There was a time when I was going to the doctor twice a week, Monday and Wednesday. And then it went to every 2 weeks. And then one time I was going every week. So that has become a critical part of my life. This is not like insulin or blood pressure medication you take at home. This is actually a chemo shot sub-Q that I have to go to the doctor's office for. So I had to learn how to manage my fears, right? And fear is a big thing that stops a lot of women from pursuing their dreams. How to manage my fear, my own mortality, schedule my life to do all the things that's important to me and still do all the things that I had put off. Now that I'm diagnosed, I have to fit that in because I got to figure out how to get all of that done. So I kind of learned how I had to learn how to manage what I call my GPS, my end game, but with all the pitfalls and stops and detours along the way. Yes, that's why it's as important for me to really speak to women, because as a mother, society also, I think, puts pressure on us as women that we have to maintain certain roles. And if we don't, we're seen as maybe less than, or we don't prioritize what our family lives, or we rather pursue our career and then go after our family. We still live with some of these stigmas, these little stereotypes. And I think it's not fair. I think people should, especially women, should be able to do what they want to do, write your own narrative, live the life that you desire. But we all do seek that comfort. You may want to go to beauty school, but your family's telling you should be a nurse, right? Because being a nurse is going to give you that comfortable, steady lifestyle that you're looking for, right? So that's why my passion is really to really talk to women. You can do it all. Do it all. Because I definitely put off a few things that I wanted to do. I thought I had time. I was only 38. I thought I had time. But I do have time, luckily, right? Because it's been 8 years. So I'm not even going to say that. I'm living well under treatment. It's been 8 years. It's been a bumpy road, but I'm still here, thriving. And that I am grateful for. And grateful to be able to share my story with others as well.
And the only commodity that we have that we can't make more of is time. That's the only thing we can't make more of. And let's face it, women are experts at managing everything. And I'll share with you something that, and I don't know that I've actually spoken about it publicly to anybody. So this might be the first time that I'm speaking about it out loud, is that I'm an expert life manager, managing my career, managing my family, making sure that all the chess pieces on the chessboard are all in the right place at the right time and are all moving in perfect motion all at the same time. And then my kids graduated. I got them through high school. I got them through college. And then they left. And then all of a sudden, the chess pieces went back in the box.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of that expertise of managing all those years of all of the chaos, suddenly the chaos was gone. And I forgot how to talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
I spent the last 4 years talking to other women. And then I realized, especially over the last 6 months, I realized I have forgotten how to talk to me. And so that's why talking to you, meeting you, and knowing that you are trying to ignite other women's passions, I realized I don't even know where my passions are anymore because I've been such an expert of managing everybody else's things that I put mine in a box somewhere and I don't even know where I put it. And what I know is that I'm not by myself in this because we are experts at this. So I've not even said this out loud, but I'm saying this out loud now because we don't talk about this enough. And there's a little bit of loneliness to this. There's also a little bit of shame and confusion because certainly we should be able to understand our own feelings and our own minds, but we get busy and we forget. And that's why what you do, this ignition is so important because I know I have lots of company.
Oh, tons of company. What you described is the role of a mother running a household, right? Everybody else matters, but you don't, right? The soccer games, the plays, the homeworks, the projects, they have to eat. I have to do the laundry. You just get yourself into this routine to make sure your family is taken care of, and then you become last, right? You go to work every day, but it's all on autopilot, right? I call it living your life on the factory setting, right? That's what it is. Instead of taking the time and maybe when they were like 10, 11 to be like, hold on, let me reset and customize the factory setting. Your main goal was your kids were fed, educated, and they could fend for themselves as they get older, right? You set them up for success. And we all do that. So I do have a daughter, as I mentioned. She is going to be a senior this September. And so I only have one child. So people often ask me, what am I going to do when she goes away to college? I'm going to live because I was a mother. I was here for her. And I did everything possible to get her to a point where she would go to some type of higher education and be self-sufficient. And that is my goal. And especially after I was diagnosed and the possibility of her mother not being here. Yes, her dad is a great part of her life and my mother, and I have other friends that will step in. But it was important for me, for her to understand you have to figure out how to take care of yourself. Get a job, a career, do what makes you happy. She wants to be a psychologist. Everybody's up in arms that they don't make enough money. Why would I let her pick that? Because I want her to feel content. So many of us get caught up in a career because of the money, the opportunity, and we always say we're going to go back to the thing that we were most passionate about. Did you plan to be in banking?
No way.
Right.
It picked me. I didn't pick it.
Right. So I don't want for her to go into a career to chase the money, not live her passion, and get stuck in a situation that when she looks back 10 years later, I should have picked something else. She's a nurturer. She's a sweet child. She's like, let me hug a tree. She's so compassionate about other people's feelings and protecting other people. She wants to be a psychologist. Have at it. I'm not going to try to convince her otherwise because we all chase the money. And when you do something you're passionate about, the money will come. You will find other ways. She'll write a book. She'll teach a class. Whatever she thinks she needs to do to make the money she needs, she'll figure it out. But at least it's something that she's passionate about. So when people ask me that question, I'm going to live. I'm going to be here for her, but I'm going to live. Because, brief story, when I was diagnosed, my mother upped and retired from her job. And I'm like, why are you doing that? I'm going to work every day. I was driving myself to treatment. The only time I was hospitalized is when I had the stem cell transplant. For the most part, I've been able to manage my disease at home. Like if I got sick, I just stayed home. Went to the doctor, came home. She up and retired. Oh, I want to be here for Maddie. That's how Maddie was 8 years old. I was like, Mom, let me tell you something. Maddie's going to grow up and she's going to find her own life. When she gets to her teen years, she's going to have her own life. And she goes, well, I'm going to do it anyway because I want to make sure I'm here for her. Okay. 8 years later, she retired a little bit too soon because fear of something happening to me. No one said, like, to 6 months, she's going to the hospice. No one said that at no point. But she said, I don't want to be here for my granddaughter. Your granddaughter is out here living her life. And she wants to go to school. So that's what I'm promoting. Like, I want her to be able to choose to go to school full time and choose her career. That's important to me. And that's one thing I hope that she remembers when she looks back on her mother's journey with multiple myeloma, because I'm going to be here, that she remembers, as grim as it was at one time, my mother pressed forward. So no matter what happens in her life, because trust me, we all get a turn, something is going to happen, I have to press forward. And that is something I want to instill in other women as well. Like, things are going to happen, but you got to pull yourself up and move forward.
So when you meet with other women and they're like, Keisha, I want to how? And because, there are moments where the world is spinning. You experienced it, where the room starts spinning and everything seems overwhelming. And you're like, I want to push forward, but I can't even feel the ground. The ground feels like it's falling out from underneath me. Where did you find your footing?
So what I do, I just fall rock bottom. I just take the fall, take it fast. Just take it. And then I just pull myself together, right? Pull myself together, acknowledge what is happening, why it's happening. Can I fix it right now? Or what is the plan to fix it? And I just put a plan in place. And I just get up and I just start going. Like, I just keep going. One foot in front of the other. Yes, you have moments where you step back and be like, I can't believe I'm going through this. Like, why is this happening to me? But I just think you could ask a why a million times. It happened already. What are you going to do to fix it and make it better? I'm also a multiple myeloma coach. And some of the patients that I talk to, they want to know why did this happen to me. First of all, you don't even know where you got it from. It's environmental. It has a smoldering stage. You could be smoldering for 15 years and you could not pinpoint where you was exposed to that chemical, whatever it is. So it's kind of pointless to figure out why or how, because no one can trace it at that point, right? It's not something that happens instantaneously, because there's a part of the population that only smolders and never go to full-blown myeloma, right? So it's pointless. It happened. It's not like you miss your mammogram. It's none of that. So stop blaming yourself. Like, it happened. We have to move forward. There's treatment options. Let's try to move forward. And that's how I deal with it. I just hit the floor fast. Just hit the floor. And I cry a little bit. I think about it. And I pick myself up. That's it. Like, it's managing people for over 20 years. I mean, I worked in retail banking, right? So whether or not I felt like working that day, I had to work because I'm customer facing. My team is customer facing, right? I can't go hide in a cubicle. It's none of that. So I think part of that career has taught me how to pivot in a situation real fast, because you still have to service the customers. I still have to open the doors at 8:30. I can't call district and say, oh, I can't open today because of X, Y, and Z. No, can't happen. So I kind of live my life the same way. I just realized that that's what it is. I live my life the same way. Like, okay, this happened today. We'll deal with it at 5:00 when the doors. We got to help the customers. I mean, I have a million stories about retail banking. The vault doesn't open because we overrun the clock. I have to go take money out the ATM to help the customers. I have a million stories. But yeah, that's just kind of how I do it, right? Everything could be fixed and everything is temporary. And I have a good friend. He was a business client of mine, and he always says to me, Keisha, it could be worse, right? As grim as not curable sounds, there are other cancers and other diseases where you literally have no treatment plan, there's no treatment options, and they tell you have 3 to 6 months to live. There is, right?
There is.
There is. Your mother, she's a nurse. When COVID hit, I remember thinking like somebody in my family wasn't going to make it because in New York, 1,000 people a day were dying at one point, 999. And we watch perfectly healthy people that are not here. When COVID hit, my entire medical team called and was like, do not come back outside. Like they suspended my treatment plan. They was like, do not. I'm immunocompromised from the chemotherapy. I'm slightly chubby, a little overweight, and all the things that they say, like, if you get COVID, you're not making it. They were like, do not come back outside. And I watched on the news, and some of my close friends lost their family members. And these were perfectly healthy people, athletes. And at that moment is another moment that just solidified for me, like, God has the last say. As unfortunate as it is, we all have something great in us, but we have to take action. We only get to see it when we take action because we all have it. So COVID was a rough time for me also. It was a critical time as well. As far as my mortality, my family, like for me to survive multiple myeloma this long, and this virus comes out the blue and just kills me. Like,
you're like, this isn't happening.
But so to add to that, in February, before New York got shut down, I went to treatment one day and I was like, I don't feel good. I feel like I can't breathe. Can I have a Z-Pack? Because I think a Z-Pack solves everything, which is a 5-day antibiotic, right? My oncologist was like, I'm not giving you a Z-Pack. She said, but I'm going to tell you to get a CT scan because when you're on certain chemo, at that time I was on an oral chemo, you are susceptible to blood clots. And I also had blood clots 3 times in my lifetime, bilateral pulmonary embolisms. It wasn't a blood clot. So I went home. I slept the whole weekend. The next few weeks later, we were shut down. They suspended my treatment. It was like, you're stable for right now. Only critical patients are coming outside. May, she calls me. She said, Keisha, I want to test you for COVID. She says, I think in February you had COVID. Yeah. This is before the vaccine. So when I go back to treatment, they test me for the antibodies. She calls me. She says, you have a tremendous amount of antibodies. So she says, in February, you had COVID. She said, it took my breath away because I was this close to you. Because she was listening to my chest. I was like, I feel like I can't breathe. Like, I'm getting a cold. I need a Z-Pack. I don't feel good. I didn't have a fever or anything. I just felt very congested. She said, Keisha, I had to take a moment. She said, because I was this close to you. Because my medical team was like part of my extended family. Like, I see them so much. She was like, I was just like, I don't know. And I had COVID in February. It was just a time just to re-solidify what your purpose is, why you're here, and you have to pay it forward, right? We have to pay it forward. At that time, I was managing a branch in Brooklyn, and one of my employees' family was from Wuhan. And like December, January, he was coming to work with gloves, a mask. He'll come to work, roll his coat up, and put it in a plastic bag. I'm like, what are you doing? He says, Keisha, I'm telling you, stop playing. Start wearing a mask. You're already, you're sick. Stop. I was like, oh, stop it. Because, he was watching the news in Wuhan. Most people like from Italy, they watch the Italian news. We're Guyanese, we watch the Guyanese news. He was watching the news in Wuhan. He was like, I'm telling you, protect yourself. So he was watching people get sick back in China. And he was taking precaution from then. I mean, gloves, mask. He comes to work, roll his coat up and put it in a plastic bag. I used to be like, stop it. But he was on to something. He was on to something. And yeah, you got to use your gifts. You have to use your gifts. And retro narrative.
You've clearly are here for a purpose.
Oh, thank you.
How are you using your unique gifts to spread this message of hope and ignition, and like women like me that have been in this mode of I've got to get things done, or other women that have know exactly what their passions are, but they put them on the shelf. And I have been looking at it going, someday, but that is your gift, is to help take them off the shelf or ignite a passion that they don't even know exists. How are you using that gift to make them put those things into action and put them out into the universe?
So very recently, in the past 18 months or so, I really started to take a shift in what I wanted to do professionally outside of being a full-time entrepreneur, right? So prior to that, I've always shared my story of multiple myeloma. And I just remembered I had blood clots 3 times. I actually had a blood clot during COVID. I've always shared my story. And if you told me that you want to start a business or you want to do something, I would give you whatever knowledge I have on it and encourage you to do so. But over the past 18 months, I kind of really decided to drill down on my professional experience and my personal experience to get on this platform now and formally really talk about it. Not so much to share my story, but to be a transformative tool. Like, this happened to me, but I used it to change. Yours might be divorce. Yours might be, you know what, I'm about to retire at 62. What am I going to do now? Because I've been working for 50 years. Like, I just don't want to come home and just like wither away. I had so many dreams and so many passions. I just didn't get to it. Well, let's talk about it. Right? Let's talk about something very short term. It could be installing a system in a closet. It could be something as far as going back to school, taking a few classes, or a longer term goal. Like, you have to set your eyes on the prize and maybe just start off with something small. And once you start, you see how much better you feel because you're actually doing something for yourself. Right? You're going to retire, you have money, you have a house, your kids went to school. Now what? Now what, right? So during my talk, I kind of opened up a couple of different ways. But the last talk I did, I coined the 9-day week. So if I asked you how many days are in the week, what are you going to say?
7.
Okay. What would you say are the most important days of the week for you?
Saturday and Sunday.
More than likely, that's what people say, right? But what if I told you that there were 9 days in the week?
I'd say I have the wrong calendar.
So I want to break it down for you. There's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Then there's one day and someday. So I do an exercise during my talks and workshops where I give you sticky notes and I divide the room for a list of 1 days and the list of some days. So when we finish this little call, think about it. How many things over the past 10 years that you said, one day I'm going to do this, or someday I'm going to do this, right? And you can call me or text me a list or tell me how many things are on each list. It could be something very simple as, you know what, I like that haircut. Maybe someday I'll try it. It could be something so basic as that. The 9-day week.
Oh, Keisha, that is mind-blowing, actually.
And I trademarked it. It's in the process of being trademarked, so no one takes it.
That is smart.
I trademarked it.
That is really smart, but that is mind-blowing.
Think about it. So I even find myself doing it now. I'm not going to say like I have everything figured out. That'd be a fallacy, right? Even sometimes now I find myself saying, I'm going to get to it, I'm going to get to it. But you have to identify what's most important at this moment. What's going to make you feel the most fulfilled at this moment? So for me was I need to work out every day, right? No matter what is happening, right? Just for my own mental, physical state. Multiple myeloma also makes your bones weak. In menopause, all the things that happens when you're almost 50 years old. So last Labor Day, I made the commitment just to work out 6 days a week. And that's how I started working out 5 o'clock in the morning. Because there's nothing to distract me. Even if I have somewhere to be later on in the day or in the morning, an appointment, nothing is happening at 5 o'clock in the morning. Besides the gym is open. So I've been waking up at 4 o'clock since Labor Day. I drive to the gym and I come back. And it's one of the best things I've done for myself in a long time. One, the guilt, you get rid of the guilt and the regret of I didn't work out today. It just helps your mind. It's my meditation time. I think about a lot of things while I'm working out. I even practice my talk while I'm working out. Or if I have a presentation or whatever, while I'm working out. The phone is not ringing. My daughter's still sleeping. That is the time I carve out for myself, right? And that's part of my program of you have to do the things that you want to change every day. You got to find a way where it becomes routine. The same way how we go to Starbucks every morning, right? We're annoyed if we're 5 minutes late and we possibly can't stop at Starbucks because we may be late for that meeting. But we figure it out anyway. We wiggle out. We wiggle our way over to Starbucks, right? So all the things that are important to us, I've learned it's all about habits. And these are things that we've heard throughout the year from all these gurus. You have to start making things a habit. And it's the truth. There's no way around it. Taco Tuesday became a habit. Now half America is eating tacos on Tuesdays.
True. That was never a thing. It was never a thing when I was a kid, but now somebody was cute and coined the phrase, and now everybody's like, oh, well, it's Tuesday. We gotta have tacos.
Right. So you just got to start it. You know what I mean? You have to just start your own mantra and do it. Because time goes. Like, it's amazing to me that I'm closer to 50. And I remember when I was in my 20s.
Yeah, that's the weird thing about age. Is that they don't tell you that your brain still thinks that you are in your 20s.
The body sometimes you're like,
Yeah. Your body's like, oh girl, you are definitely 3 and in the middle of menopause.
Yeah.
Your brain's like, what are you talking about? Let's go. But your body's like, no, this is gonna hurt.
Right. Don't do it. But that's the thing. I'm grateful for it. So I don't make no qualms about getting older. My birthday is next month.
Mine too.
Really?
Yes. What day?
June 14th.
I'm 10 days later. I'm June 24th.
Okay. See, we have more in common than we think.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for all the lessons, as hard as it was or hard as it is going to be, because I'm sure I'm going to get another go round somewhere along the line. But to understand yourself and how to put a plan in place to come out resilient on the other side is the real name of the game. For any woman listening.
Yeah, I'm going to challenge everybody because I'm going to do it myself because Keisha has thrown down the gauntlet. And so I'm going to do it.
Do it.
I'm going to write a list of one day and someday. And I'm going to tell her. And then I want everybody to do the same. And you guys can tell me. And look at your list. And it's for nobody but yourself.
No. And after you write the list, I'm going to give you one more challenge. Dare to change. Dare to change. Right? What's on the other side of trying? The reward. What's on the other side of the fear? The victory. Dare to change. Pick something that's going to take you 4 weeks, a small project. Put a plan in place and do it. You feel so much better. Now, I did that today. Instead of saying one day and someday, oh, I did it today. I completed it.
What's the worst that could happen?
Right. What is the worst that can happen?
Because it can always be worse.
Correct. Always be worse. Always.
Keisha, first of all, I am so happy that our paths crossed, that somehow, some way, the universe brought us together because we were supposed to meet. I'm just so excited that we were able to meet. And I'm just so excited that you're here to share your story. And for those who have been listening for a while, you know that this part of the show is my favorite part because this is the part where I get to step back from the mic and give you an opportunity to have an intimate moment directly with the audience, for you to leave the audience with a thought, just something to ponder that they can take with them for the week that might give them something lasting for them to think about. So, Keisha, the mic is yours.
Thank you so much. First off, I want to say it was an absolute pleasure to be on with you today. I enjoyed our conversation 2 weeks ago. I enjoyed it today. I hope this is not the end of our long distance relationship, because you're in Vegas and I'm in New York, that our paths will cross again. So, my quote is, complacency is the anchor that keeps our dreams from sailing, right? I want you guys to think about that. Also, I want you to think about, according to recent data in 2022, the average American life expectancy is now 78. So for some of us who are listening on this call, we have more years behind us than in front of us, right? So what are you going to do? Tell me, what are you going to do to live the life that you desire, write your own narrative, and leave the legacy that you want to leave? What do you want your kids, your friends, your coworkers to say about you? And it could be something as, and we hear it all the time, my mother didn't have a lot of money, but my home was filled with love. Because we become complacent in different parts of our lives, not only our careers, right? We tend to think about that mostly, our careers. When we become complacent in our relationships, we become complacent with our health, we become complacent with ourselves. So I want you to look at the different avenues of your life where you think that you are super comfortable. And I'm going to challenge you to step out of your comfort zone and try something new and see how it makes you feel. I know you're going to feel great. Just try it. Dare to change. That is my message.
Keisha, I thank you for that, because I've often said that comfort zones are cages.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't always realize that we've built our own cage.
Correct.
Until we feel stuck.
Because it feels good right here. Comfort feels great.
It feels good until you start to feel uncomfortable and you realize that you've created your own discomfort, because you've looked around and you realize something feels wrong, something feels off, something feels missing, and that's because you created your own cage.
And yes, we create our own cage, but also we do not develop mechanisms to really help us when life forces us to become uncomfortable. When the AC stops working and now we're in a furnace and we got to figure something out real quick, right? Now we can't think because we're just so used to the AC's been working for 20 years. Why did it stop working? All right. So yeah, that's very true.
So unlock your own cage. You created your own cage. Unlock it.
Unlock it. Step out. Let the wind hit your face.
Yes.
Let the wind hit your face. But it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much
Keisha, thank you so much for being here. And thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for
Absolutely.
being very vulnerable with me and with the audience. And I can't wait to talk to you again and share with you what I come up with. It'll be interesting for both of us. And I want to thank all of you for listening, and we'll see you again next time.
Take care.
That's our show. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. It is my pleasure to be the ambassador of these women's stories. It is my hope that they inspire, that maybe they educate, and above all, that they make you feel like you're not so alone in this big world of ours. I'm hoping that you recognize yourself in these women, and that you feel maybe that you're not so different after all, and that you have lots of company, and that we're all standing together in this arena.